Cars 3, Driven to Win is the most recent game in the Cars franchise. No, this doesn't count. However, and some can agree that it's a big downgrade from Cars 2 the game, since they are made by the same engine by the same developers. It's unfortunately a result of Avalanche Software, the team that made the games, were shut down until they were bought by Warner Brothers in 2017. Because of this, Cars 3 was rushed and didn't get the chance to be the true spiritual successor to Cars 2. Today we'll be going over all the things that were downgraded from Cars 2. Let's begin with the character roster. There are 58 playable characters in Cars 2, including DLC characters, while Cars 3 has a significantly lesser 26, being less than the standard amount in Cars 2. This significant reduction made them cut out a bunch of potential characters, and some that didn't get a chance to get in the game. For example, Luigi was meant to be a playable character, but was cut from the game. Not only that, but other characters, such as Cal Weathers, Danny Swervas, Chase Rasselot, and many other characters. This roster is not all bad, since some DLC characters from Cars 2, such as Ramon and Chick Hicks, are unlockable, and characters like Sally and Mac were added as playable characters. Next up, the tracks. I will say that the track design itself is a slight improvement from Cars 2, with more shortcuts and physics-based jumps and tricks. However, the tracks themselves don't feel as special as Cars 2's. There's a lot of tracks that blend into one another. Unlike Cars 2 that has multiple unique locations like the oil rig, Tokyo, London, an airport, etc. However, in Cars 2 there's Thunder Hollow, Thomasville, Heartland, and others that aren't as special or creative as Cars 2. There are some things like the figure 8 of Thunder Hollow with the demo derby racers running around in the underground cave in Thomasville, but there's not as many iconic moments or special scenery in these tracks. Coinciding with the tracks, the soundtrack is not as good as Cars 2. In my opinion, I think Cars 2 has the best soundtrack of all the games when it comes to original composed music. Chuck E. Myers not only composed Cars 2's OST, but also Cars 3's. It's unfortunately not as good due to the game being rushed, so the majority of the music feels like background noise, but that doesn't mean that there are good tracks. Like, I'm a fan of Thomasville's, Thunder Hollow, Florida International Speedway, and a few others, but they're not nearly the same level as Cars 2's Oil Rig Race, London Race, Radiator Springs Hunter, Tokyo Race and Hunter. And not only that, but even the remixes from Cars 2 and Cars 3 feel not as great. Italy's theme feels like there are instruments missing. London's theme has a fire electric guitar added, but the original melody got drowned out with the rest of the song. Oil Rig doesn't even exist in this game. The soundtrack of this game is more of a disappointment than it is bad. For me, the progression is interchangeable with Cars 2's, since neither of them have stories to have a solid progression system, but I think that Cars 3's is lazier. Cars 2 at least tried to have a bit of progression and story, with every event having a description that has some story. The gameplay doesn't represent it, but at least it's there. Cars 3's progression revolves around achievements. You do achievements to progress through the story, unlocking boss races the more you collect. This is significantly lazier and again, a byproduct of the game being rushed. So that's all the things I feel were downgraded from Cars 2. It's a shame, especially since there's a chance this might be the last ever Cars game we get. So it ended on this note is pretty unfortunate. But it's still a solid game, just not as good as Cars 2.